Doja here and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about Ruta Sepetys' Salt to the Sea. This is a book I have been anticipating since the end of 2016 and I finally got around to reading it and I wanted to share my thoughts with you guys. So before I go and tell my review of the book, I'm going to read the synopsis of this book because I don't want to screw up the explanation of the book. So it says, Winter 1945, 4 teenagers, 4 secrets, each one born of a different homeland, each one hunted and haunted by tragedy, lies, and war. As thousands of desperate refugees flock to the coast of the midst of a Soviet advance, 4 paths converge, vying for passage abroad the Wilhelm Gustloff, a ship that promises safety and freedom. Not all promises can be kept. Inspired by the single greatest tragedy of maritime history, bestselling and award-winning author Ruta Sepetys, who wrote Between Shades of Grey, lifts the veil on a shockingly little-known casualty of World War II, an illuminating and life-affirming tale of heart and hope. So, so basically this book is told through a 4-person point of view. And just to give you guys a little bit of historical background, it's kind of at the end tail of World War II, you had the advancement of the Red Army coming from the Soviet Union side, and then Germany kind of falling back into their territories because Germany was gaining ground, and then they converged, and then basically that was the end tail of the fight and kind of what led to the demise of Germany after World War II. And basically the 4 people in this book are all immigrants and refugees from Lithuania, East Prussia, which now is actually part of, I believe, Poland and Russia, and Poland, and the 4th one is German. So you have, one of the things I really loved about this book was the different perspectives of looking at what was going on at that time and the different horrors each of them faced. So I'm going to from this point on, this is my spoiler-free part of the video, but now I'm going to go into spoilers ahead. So if you guys have not read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, you might not want to keep watching. And for those of you who have read the book, I will let you know my thoughts. Now, my thoughts on this book was that it is an extremely good book. I really liked it. I gave it a 4 stars on Goodreads. I would give it 4.5. Ruta Sepety is such an amazing historian, storyteller, because she respects the historical facts of these time periods so well, and she embodies them so incredibly well. I did feel like a lot of the things that she was talking about, the atrocities that was happening to Polish people during the Nazi regime, I guess the leniency with the Lithuanians in terms of being I think it was second-rate Germans or something like they were thought to be that way during World War II, and so you had that, but at the same time that feeling of hopelessness that each of them felt because of the way that the war was going and how the atrocities that each person had to live through. The person I really found interesting out of the 4, I really did like Florian. I liked that they made him kind of like a thief, him trying to get back at the Nazi regime for stealing all those art pieces. So he stole the Amber Room, which is apparently it's a lost treasure of World War II that was never found, and apparently he basically lived his whole life never saying where the Amber Room was, and he's the only one that actually knew where it was. Him and another person who was killed, and then so it was really cool how all those facts really tied in together and I think braided in those gaps within the plot. I really love that they made that the nurse Joanna, she's someone who she's such a strong and sympathetic character. I love that she was so sensitive, but at the same time she was it's just, she was such a great character, and I loved how they kind of weave together Florian and Joanna together. Another thing that a character that really had my heart was Amelia. Amelia being a Polish girl, and eventually we learned that she was raped by a Soviet army military guy, and that was the reason why she was pregnant, and kind of her feeling of kind of never losing that national pride of being Polish throughout everything, despite everything, and falling in love with her child, who, even though like she could see it was not a she's not like she was conceived under good circumstances, but it was, she still fell in love with that child, and I love that about her. The final character, Alfred, I did feel like there was a bit of a detachment with Alfred. Now, what tends to happen, I noticed in a lot of World War II books, is that they tend to villainize German people during World War II, especially if they're affiliated with Nazis, or they were enforcing Nazi ideals or whatever. And I feel that is something that I've always has kind of not sit well with me, because I feel like, because we don't really understand what it means to live under a populist government, a government where you fear for your life and you have to kind of go with the status quo if you want to live for the sake of your family and yourself, I think we kind of tend to dissociate ourselves from that, and we automatically villainize German people. I did not like the way Alfred was portrayed in this book. I felt like I feel like Ruta could have been a little bit more sensitive toward Alfred's character. Now, I understand that what I really loved that she was going with at the beginning was showing him as a scared boy. Like, he was a boy that he always had to try to prove himself to others. There was something a little bit off about him. He was not like all the other men. They kept making fun of him, and then that's how he kind of became this raging Nazi, Nazi soldier, and automatically led to his demise and him going crazy and then of course dying. But I felt like Alfred, instead of automatically being villainized, which I felt like his evolution from being a scared kid to this villainous Nazi was too rushed, and I felt like it wasn't sensitive enough. And I don't think Ruta gave the same sensibility to Alfred as she did with Joanna, Florian, and Amelia. And I feel like that was something that she should have done, because she definitely had some room there to kind of show some sort of empathy towards the German people that Alfred symbolized, because each of them symbolized a group of people that were affected during World War II. And I felt like she could have done that a lot better. Now, I really think that she portrayed the sinking of the ship extremely well. It felt very Titanic to me. I had scenes of the Titanic movie playing in my head as I read them, and I could feel the horror, especially when she was talking about the hundreds of dead children floating around. The lifeboats it was such a gruesome picture, but it did make its purpose, which was that this was a tragedy that happened during World War II that no one really talks about and no one really knows a lot about. And I feel like a book like this should definitely be pushed, because whenever there's something massive in history, 21,000 approximately people died in this tragedy of 3 sinking ships. So basically, they were transport ships that were transporting German soldiers, refugees, civilians, and they were torpedoed by Soviet submarines, and they sunk, and killing approximately 21,000 people. And the fact that has gone so long without being talked about is baffling to me. So I commemorate Ruta for doing that. Overall, 4.5. I highly recommend you guys read this. It's a great book to read. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.